Okay, Dr. Helen, how are you today?
Not too bad.
We find you here at Harambe Restaurant. There is an event that is being organized, but we'd like to talk to you about your meeting with Nelson Mandela, who's just passed away. You had apparently a few opportunities to meet the man.
Yes, I was very fortunate. I had been involved in the anti-apartheid movement when I was a student, and I later worked in London for a group called the Europe-Africa Research Project, where we had a number of members of the liberation movements coming to visit our office. And I also did some journalism on Southern Africa. And when I returned to Australia, we were involved in trying to get the Australian government to support the ANC, allow them to open an office and things like this. And when Nelson Mandela visited Canberra, I had been involved in the anti-apartheid movement in Canberra just before moving back to Melbourne. He called a small meeting, and about 30 of us who've been involved in the anti-apartheid movement in a hotel, the Canberra Hotel in the city, and then he spoke to us as a group, and then he came around and put his arm around each one of us and thanked us for our work in the anti-apartheid movement. And I've just been watching, of course, his funeral services, the memorial service and then the actual funeral, and everybody's been commenting about, you know, the way that he speaks to people and his inclusive nature. And the next time I saw him was in the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Edinburgh. I was representing the Commonwealth Association for the Adult Education, and there was a reception put on by the heads of government for all the NGOs, all the Commonwealth NGOs. And we just walked in and there he was chatting away with people. And as it happened, his secretary was somebody I knew who I'd been to Choggum with back in the 70s to try and get the issue raised. And so we had such a nice chat about, you know, how far the Commonwealth had come in its attitudes towards Southern Africa over that time. And then South Africa was being welcomed back. He was being welcomed back into the Commonwealth. And the third time I came across him was in Zimbabwe at the World Council of Churches conference, where there was a fair deal of tension going on because of the situation in Zimbabwe. And there were people there from different Zimbabwean rival factions, and Mandela hadn't been expected to speak. He actually came in as an alternative because Thabo and Becky couldn't make it. They sent Mandela, and everybody was delighted. And he just arrived as people were milling around outside the hall waiting to go in, and then he just walked into the crowd and started chatting to people. And so, you know, I happened to be standing in the right place. Again, he was, you know, interested to hear. He was interested to listen to people. I mean, he was a sort of instinctive community development worker himself, really.
On 3 occasions, looks like you were at the right place at the right time.
That's right, I happened to be, and I've just reflected on this recently. I wrote this up on Facebook, actually, so that I could share it with a lot of friends, because he truly had a remarkable character, and he really kept in contact with the people, which many other politicians don't do.
Do you hold much hope that his legacy will survive for quite long?
I think so, because carefully watching those services going on cable television, I could see that he has inspired a lot of people in the younger generation. Who see not only his ideals for the non-racial society, but also his methodology of working to bring about, you know, a more communal society. And I think there are South Africa has big problems, and they do relate to money and finance and power. But I think that because there are so many people who've glimpsed his method of work and of relating to people, that South Africa is in a better situation than many other countries, I think, for its future, including even Australia, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Dr. Helen, we thank you very much for your time.